Welcome to Healing Powers TV. I'm your host Laura Powers, and I'm pleased today to have Dr. Joel Carmichael with us. He is an author and a wellness educator. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Laura. It's nice to be here.
Well, I asked Dr. Carmichael to be on the show to talk about sleep, because I think that is such a big issue in our society right now that many Americans don't sleep enough or they don't have quality sleep. So I wonder if you could just talk about why that is.
Why Americans don't sleep?
I know that's a huge question, but
well, let's just start with an American lifestyle.
Okay.
If you travel in Europe, for example, you'll find out, for example, in France, that there's a holiday for every day of the week. Some saint died, or some saint was born, or some saint, you know, did something big. And so the French people, at least the ones who follow the philosopher Rousseau, they're into the joie de vivre, they're into the joy of life. And so a typical Frenchman will barbecue and take 2.5 hours to warm up the food. And you look at what we do in this country, it's get it on the grill, burn it, consume it, and be done in 5 or 10 seconds. And what I call that is living Mach 5 with your hair on fire.
Wow, yeah.
And that's the first thing. The second thing is that we have such an insatiable desire to be entertained.
Yes.
So what do? We pop on the TV, there's Jack Bauer, he's saving the world for being blown up with a nuclear weapon. And what does all this kind of stuff do? Your brain doesn't know that Jack's not real.
Right.
Your brain thinks that in fact Ventura, California is going to go up in nuclear holocaust any minute now if Jack doesn't de-detonate, you know, or defragment or whatever the bomb. Okay, and so this is at 9 o'clock at night, 9:30, and we're getting all of our adrenal glands churned up. And what happens is then, okay, night-night, lights out.
Right.
Time for bed, and you're sitting there, lying on our back, staring at the ceiling, going, Jack Bauer, Jack Bauer, Jack Bauer, and not realizing that even the fantasy world that we've been in with our brains is something that our bodies have responded to.
Okay.
And so our adrenals are squeezing, you know, screaming, literally going, ah! Because fight or flight is the adrenal hormone.
Right.
And you know, when you've got a nuclear bomb, what do? Run away! And so we're in a runaway mode instead of sleep mode. And that I think is the #1 cause of Americans not sleeping. There's others we'll discuss, but #1 is our lifestyle, living Mach 5 with our hair on fire and not giving ourselves honor to our bodies in rest.
I've only recently come to understand just how much stress plays a factor in our health, and I heard a statistic, and it's either, what, 80 or 90% of doctors' visits can be connected to stress,
Absolutely.
Which is astounding when you think about that. So how can we help reduce that for sleep purposes?
First thing you have to do, Laura, is you have to choose it.
Okay.
Now think about it.
No.
How many people you talk to on the street, you know, 10 out of 10 people you walk into an office and say, okay, how many people would like, raise your hand, if you'd like to be out of stress? Like to have a lower stress? Oh, me, yeah, oh yeah. How many people are willing to change any aspect of their life to get there? So the first thing is you say, you know, you have to choose it.
Okay.
Quietude. Think about this. We used to go to bed when it was dark. And we used to wake up when it was light. Well, that rhythm is entirely off. We have electricity now. In fact, there's certain cities where they never sleep.
Yeah.
You know?
I've lived in some of them.
New York, Las Vegas. You never have to go to sleep. And then there's the poor Americans who can't fall asleep without some sort of stimulation. You know? So they have the TV playing in their bedroom. And they're just flipping through the channels all night long. I remember my wife and I, in 1991, we were walking through our neighborhood. She was very, very pregnant, and this was the waning hours of pregnancy, And we said, okay, go for a walk and we'll just get this labor started. So it's 2 or 3 in the morning, and that's why I explained this, because we're walking through our neighborhood, peeking in the windows. Not really. But we're walking through 3 a.m. and look at all these TVs on through our windows. Like, this is American, and Americans cannot rest. We can't shut the lights out. We can't shut off our addiction to entertainment.
And the light, I would think, I read that actually stimulates your brain, so you can't sleep, right? Okay. Yeah,
so a couple of things you want to do, just hints right away. You want the room to be as dark as possible. Turn off any night lights. If you've got an alarm clock that's plugged into the wall next to your head, for a couple of reasons, as far as dirty electricity and high-frequency man-made radiation, you want to get that alarm clock away from your head anyway.
Okay.
So use a battery-powered alarm clock. Don't use a plug-in alarm clock. And then have it be one that doesn't have a face that lights up unless you press a button. So
a lot of people, including myself, use a phone as their alarm. Like, I don't have an alarm clock, but I just use my phone. How is that compared?
True confessions. Well, I can tell you that in the August edition of Pathophysiology Journal, August 2009, PhD after PhD after PhD conclusively stated that cell phones cause cancer. So that's that high frequency radiation. Now, if you look at the frequency of the Earth's magnetic field, it's between 7 and 12 pulsations per second. You can almost count it. Just a very nice, undulating, relaxing rhythm. It's one of the rhythms of life. Just like the rhythm of breathing.
Right.
You breathe 12 to 15 times, or your heartbeat is 60 times a minute. So these are rhythms of nature. When you get into 900 million pulsations per second, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
When you get into that amount of vibration going into your brain, your cells, some of them have no clue, it just blows right on by. Some of your cells, some of the frequencies are okay, but 900 million pulsations per second coming out of your smartphone, your cells are, I don't know what I'm doing. Now, in children, that produces a thermal effect. It actually warms up their brain. And there's studies, there's pictures that show the actual heating mechanism as the duration of the phone call goes longer. You actually see their brain heating up. In adults, it doesn't heat up as much. And in this country, the United States, we have a situation where our country only acknowledges as harmful those forms of radiation that are thermal, like microwave. Boy, don't go microwave. You could boil your skin. You could do something. But in Russia, where they've been studying radiation for over 100 years, they know that non-thermal radiation is equally as disease-causing. And it's just a matter of time. I'm glad you guys are watching this, because it's just a matter of time before you all understand that you need to talk on the cell phone using a speaker. You need to talk through a wire. You don't want to talk with this thing pressed up against your ear and up against your head. And that's just the way it is. I didn't come with a boatload of research, but I'm happy to do that at some point. I mean, there's so much compelling research out there by very credible people, including a PhD in environmental medicine at Columbia University School of Medicine, another environmentalist PhD. She's got a website called dirtyelectricity.com, where you learn about all these things that disturb our sleep that are coming out of our walls. I'll tell you one little snippet. We had a little baby, never sleep through the whole night, colicky, fussy all the time. And I said, where's the crib? And they said, well, the crib is against the wall. I go, well, where's the outlet? Well, the outlet is right under the crib. Okay, so take the crib and pull it away from the wall. So you put the crib right in the middle of the room. That night, full night's sleep, no more fuss. Just from the removal of that disturbing electromagnetism from the baby's biofield, from their body.
So I guess what I'm getting from that is that you probably shouldn't sleep with your cell phone next to your head.
There's some people
as an alarm.
Some people sleep with it under their pillow,
so
they can feel the vibration, or they can hear the text message from boyfriend A or B or C. I have 3 daughters, so And again, this is producing what's called electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome,
Okay.
which is a constellation of symptoms that look very much like fibromyalgia,
Oh, wow.
chronic fatigue, and so forth, and yet it's not coming from anything you ate, it's not coming from a chemical, it's actually coming from magnetism in the environment, man-made high-frequency radiation.
Okay, so we want to just get all of that stuff out of the bedroom and preferably just limit our exposure in general, is what it sounds like you're saying. Okay.
Let me give you another example. Have you ever been camping?
Yes.
Okay. On a hard ground in a tent?
Yes.
Okay. So what you do is you go off and you hike up into nature, and you pitch your tents, and all you've got is the rudiments of survival. Nothing to plug into, right? In spite of the lumpiness and the bumpiness of the ground and the discomforts of it, what was your quality of sleep like?
Pretty good, yeah.
Unbelievably. Okay. and then you go on a picnic. This is something I challenge your viewing audience to do. Go out, take a blanket to the backyard or to a park, away from any high-powered wires or anything like that. Lay the blanket out on the ground and lay on it for more than 5 minutes, staring up at the sky. You think it's the sunshine, you think it's the clouds going by and it's the fresh air, but it's more than that. It's actually immediate and direct contact with the Earth's magnetic field at between 7 and 12 hertz.
Okay.
People love the beach for the same reason. They think, it's the wind, it's the waves, it's the relaxing rhythms of the wave. And of course it is, but more. It's also direct exposure to the Earth's magnetic field. Now think of our culture in the last 1,000 years. Who 1,000 years ago didn't get out into the field talking about the Earth's magnetic field?
Right.
Everyone
did, yeah.
Everybody. Now you can get up, you sleep on the second floor, you're away from the Earth there, you hop in your metally encased car with iron framing, and you drive down the street and you go into your nice little cubby surrounded by concrete and rebar and all of this Cat5 cable and all the other wiring in and you're surrounded by fluorescent lights beaming down on you, and you've got a compact fluorescent light bulb which is toxic right by your head so you can read, and you never get into the field.
Right.
And is it any wonder that we're not sleeping? So, first challenge, take your shoes and socks off.
Okay.
Go for a walk on the ground, on the earth.
Wow.
That produces an electron flow up through your body. Not only that, go lay down on the ground and take a nap for a half hour. I guarantee you'll find an easier time falling asleep. If you are an insomniac out there, you'll have a better time falling asleep just in the field. And that's a wonderful thing. There's technology that can replace that. Pulsating magnetic field therapy. We use in our clinic. We use the magnetic resonance stimulation device called the IMRS. But there are other types of devices available. The main thing, of course, the main and most natural thing, is to get out there in the field.
This is great because I've heard a lot of the tips about sleep. Don't have your lights on, don't watch TV, but never heard anyone say, gosh, just go outside and lay on the ground or walk on the ground. That's new information for me.
Not so doable when there's 2 feet of snow out there.
That's true.
Which is why, at least in Colorado where we're filming this, an alternative indoor option would be great. But removing yourself from toxic man-made frequencies is just as important. My wife and I haven't used the microwave oven in 4 years.
Wow. My
wife's got a note, a little sticky note on our microwave that says, "I love you, do not use." And not a single member of our family has used that in 4 years. I know. Well, what happens when you put food into a microwave and you send these high frequencies through it to stir the molecular acceleration to produce heat? You're also changing the very nature, the energetic nature of the food.
This is, and I've read that the United States is one of the only countries that allows microwaves. Is that true?
There's many countries that do, but Russia does not.
Okay.
And it's in the further east you go in Western Europe, you'll find the lesser and lesser amount of microwave use.
Okay.
There's a study that was Al Marino. He's a PhD, and he teaches at Louisiana State University School of Medicine. And he published 1975 U.S. State Department data showing the Russians using non-thermal radiant frequencies, bombing the U.S. embassy with these frequencies to make our ambassadors sick.
Yeah.
They even know which frequency produces which disease. They're saying, there's high-level negotiations going on today by the U.S. ambassador. Let's give him a case of diarrhea. Or worse, let's give him leukemia with chronic exposure to a particular frequency. This is how much other countries know about this. Well, in this country, what we know most about is drugs.
Yeah.
Because there's only 2 countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise directly to the consumer using television.
Right.
The countries are the United States and New Zealand.
Wow. That's very
So
interesting.
we're exposed to this constant between, 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. We're exposed to this constant propaganda. And again, I'm not saying that drugs are bad. I'm just saying, well, are there any other options? In this country, all we know about is there's a pill to wake up, and a pill to go to sleep, and a pill to get high, and a pill to get low, and a pill to have sex, and a pill to go sideways. There's a pill for everything. And that's why I appreciate your network so much, because we get to learn about alternatives to all of that.
Yeah, I feel strongly. It's just good to know what your options are. Thank you for that. So we've talked a little bit about several different tips. So turning off the TV, not having a TV in your bedroom, not having an electric alarm or a phone in your room.
Nothing plugged into the wall by your head.
Nothing plugged into the wall, period, by your head. Okay. Going outside, turn off the lights.
Pull the shades.
Okay.
I mean, if you can create a completely dark environment, thumbs up.
Great.
Way up. And the other thing is you want to do is you want to start preparing. If you really do struggle with good sleep, you want to start preparing for sleep way before bedtime.
Yeah.
So what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you allowing to come into your head? What kind of headspace do you have? Sometimes a relaxing bubble bath is like the perfect thing. Okay? And sometimes, there's unresolved conflict, or there's, you've got a coworker that's just really, you come in every day and you get hit between the eyes with major stress, and your adrenal glands are like this. And you're thinking the night before, okay, I gotta get up and I gotta go and I gotta meet so-and-so, or the boss is coming, or the president's coming. There's so many things you need to do skill-wise to learn to clear your head. One of the things that I found to be very effective is to make a list. Put it on paper, and it'll be there. So you can review it in the morning and lather yourself up if you need to, but put it down so you can get it off your mind. And then feed your mind with peace. And that comes in a variety of ways for people. Some people meditate. Some people pray. Some people do none of the above, but they breathe. So even taking a book and lying on your bed and just making the book go up, down. When you breathe in, the book should go up toward the ceiling. So you get good, deep diaphragmatic breathing. And some people, they're eating the wrong thing before bed. They're, loading themselves up with refined sugar. My grandfather, God rest his soul, would have a float. He lived in Iowa, and this is what a float was. You put soda in a big glass, and then you dump a couple of dips of vanilla ice cream in there, and it fizzes up, and this is...
Tastes great.
I know some of you are salivating out there. Stop that! Stop that! The goal here is to not bombard your pancreas with insulin. Excuse me, not bombard your body with insulin released from the pancreas right before, because you get this blood sugar high, 30, 40, 50 minutes later, and then bing, you're wide awake. So some of you moms and dads out there with kids who have a hyperactivity disorder know that you can't feed sugar to a kid. Well, we adults are the same way. We just don't act out that way. So guard your pie hole, particularly before bed.
Okay, so what else besides sugar should you avoid before bed? Anything food or
fruit particularly, because fruit's just going to sit there. Again, I love certain kinds of fruits that have high fiber. Apples are some, berries are some. The cherries that are in season right now are beautiful organic cherries, so I'm loving that. But honest, a banana before bed, not a good thing.
Okay.
Fruits that are high in sugar, like mangoes and things, right before bed, again, it's a fruit, but it's also a sugar. Things that are easily digestible, like crackers, that convert readily to glucose in the bloodstream, should be avoided.
So basically everything that's in dessert.
Everything that's in dessert.
That people tend to eat at night.
And alcohol has a lot of carbohydrate in it. And this is something people, well, I guess I'll have another beer. And, beer's okay here and there and whatever, but let's be honest. If you need a beer to fall asleep, we need to talk. We do. Because that's not a good pattern. And that's something that I guess I can say. Yeah.
And then, of course, stimulants. That's, most people know that. But when should you stop drinking? Or, drinking coffee or having chocolate.
Or tea. Some of the green teas out there even have caffeine. It's like, I'm having a nice little green tea here. Prefer grandma's tummy mint. Yeah. Or some other from our friends just around the corner here from the studio. Yeah. There are teas that are actually promoting sleep. Okay. And so, there's some nice herbs. We sell a product in our clinic that has several ingredients in it that are very good for sleep. One is D-theanine. Okay. Another one is 5-HTP, which is a precursor to the manufacture of tryptophan. Melatonin, and magnesium, because magnesium is a natural muscle relaxant. Okay. And so there are certain herbs and certain nutritionals that you can find on the shelf at a good Whole Foods or a good vitamin store that will guide you in the sleep department. And of course, any questions people have, they could certainly contact me through my website, www.center, C-E-N-T-E-R, the number 4, spine, S-P-I-N-E.com, www.centerforspine.com. That's where you can find a mechanism to actually ask questions. I'd be happy to guide people on what to take nutritionally for higher quality sleep. That's great. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to mention that we haven't discussed yet? Yeah, there's the hormone tie-in. I'll just say, a little plug for growth hormone. Growth hormone is involved in the repair processes of the body. Okay. And if your body can't repair, you're gonna hurt, or your mood is gonna be grumpy or stuff like that. The growth hormone is released most powerfully between 2 and 4 a.m. Okay. If you reach deep sleep. There's delta sleep, that's the delta wave being expressed by the brain, is the deepest form of sleep. And so you want to get into delta sleep. People with fibromyalgia, for example, sleep very little. And when they do sleep, I slept 6 hours, I slept 7 hours. But never once did they get into delta sleep. So again, the magnetic resonance stimulation device that we use in our clinic also has a couple of attachments that allow us to do what's called audiovisual brainwave entrainment, or AVE. We can actually entrain beta, alpha, theta, and delta waves in the brain selectively. So we'll take people with a sleep problem, we'll put them on the device, which surrounds their entire body with a frequency that matches the Earth's magnetic field. And at the same time, through frequencies through their closed eyes and through their ears, we're entraining delta waves. Wow, okay. Awesome. Wow, and then so we'll combine that with some herbs, with a dark room, with no alarm clock by the head, no cell phone by the bed. All these things combined then can get that body into some delta waves. And so, for example, we'll take people with fibromyalgia, and for the first time in years, they'll get a full night's rest, and lo and behold, more energy, less pain. Yeah. And that's the start of the cure for fibromyalgia. So that growth hormone is a big part of that. You get that release between 2 and 4 a.m., but your brain has to be in a deep, restful state for that to happen. And the technology, again, that we use most readily to induce that is the magnetic resonance together with the sound light relaxation system or audiovisual brainwave entrainment. There's help out there. There are songs that match the frequencies of the brain.
Like lullabies, kind of?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then, or like classical music.
Okay.
There are other frequencies of music that are absolutely destructive to the sleep cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only what you eat, not only what you think about,
Right.
not only what's plugged in next to your head, it's what you listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And those are pretty much that. If the viewer will take those tips to heart, we've got a good head start on a good night's rest.
That's great, and I like that there's natural things you can do, technological things to avoid, but then there's also technology that can help you. So it's not like technology is evil, you just have to use it in the right way.
That's right. Yeah.
Great, well thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you,
And I wonder if you could just one more time give your address so that people can find out more information.
Absolutely. Our website address is www.centerforspine.com. That's center, C-E-N-T-E-R, the number 4, spine.com. There you'll find a way to send an email to info@centerforspine.com, and I get all those emails and can answer those. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you.
What you're doing is profoundly beneficial for a culture that doesn't get to see what else is out there oftentimes. So I applaud you in your work, and I consider it a great privilege to be on the show with you.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor to have you, and I do want to let people at home know that I do recommend Dr. Carmichael's book. It's called Magnetic Resonance Stimulation, and definitely worth checking out. And if you want to find out more information about the show, the podcast, and events, you can go to www.healingpowers.net. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.